Hey everyone, welcome back. So in the last video we have talked about scarcity and opportunity cost, and we have seen how these problems are faced by individuals, companies and economies. So in this video we are going to talk about the three problems that an economy faces while allocating its resources. Because firstly, let's understand what is an economy. Economy, it's the collection of of all the citizens, the collection of all the spending and making money of different individuals. Are you getting it? Like, for example, this is person A. This person makes or produces something. So he produces something and then sells it to, let's say, person B, which is this. So he produces it and sells it to this person. Okay, similarly, whatever this person earns, it will go to that person. So one person's spending is another person's income. So now these two people, this chain will continue. Like whatever he produces, it will be an income of a third person, and whatever this person produces will be an income of this person. So in that way, one person's spending is another person's income. Okay, so that is what makes an economy, right? Now uh, talking about in terms of the government of the economy, let's say the Indian government, okay, uh, or any government of a country. So basically we say it as any economy, right? We don't say any government of an economy, we say the economy. Okay, so there are three major problems that are faced while allocating its resources. Okay, so you may have seen while the budget. अरे यार. So you may have seen while allocating the budget, various things were taken into consideration, like allocating this much of amount to this particular sector, amount this much to some other sector, and this much to some other sector, and likewise. So the three main things, or the three main questions that an economy needs to take into consideration while allocating its resources are: firstly is what to produce. Okay, for example, if I ask you to produce, you may ask, what the hell do I need to produce, right? So you need something specific, right? So that comes under this thing. And secondly, and so basically, there are two important questions that you'll ask me, like, what do I need to produce, right? So that's the first question. And secondly is, how much should I produce? Like, you won't just start over and produce, like, just over anything, right? You need a specific target, because you cannot produce infinite number of things, infinite number of goods or services, because you have a resource constraint. You have limited amount of capital, you have limited amount of labor, so, and you have limited amount of time also. Time is also a resource constraint. So these are the two things. And then coming to the next question that an economy asks while allocating its resources is how to produce. So in this particular section, there are two techniques. The first is capital intensive technique. So meaning, in order to produce something, you use capital, that is money, to produce a desired number of goods or services. For example, uh, if I ask you to produce 100 pens, uh, in this particular technique, what you can do is, let's say you come from a very rich background, so you have an abundance of cash. So you just go on hiring 10 laborers and buy all the equipments, and then produce 100 pens, and at the end of the day your output is 100 pens and you can sell it in the market, right? So that is capital intensive technique. The second is labor intensive technique. In that process, in that technique, what you do is, taking the same example of producing 100 pen, in this particular case, what you do is, you don't have abundant of cash, or you don't come from a rich background. So what you would do is, you would work yourself and in producing the 100 pens, okay, because you can't get help from any other or third person because you don't have money, right? You cannot hire labor, you cannot hire expensive equipments which can make your life easy. So basically you need to work yourself to produce the desired result, that is producing 100 pen. And mind you, the the term labor that we use in economics, it's used quite often in economics, and it doesn't mean that वो जो काम करने जाते हैं हर दिन उसको लेबर नहीं बोलते हम लोग यहाँ पे. What we by labor what we mean is कि the amount of hours of work that you put in is considered as labor. Okay, let's say if I say तुम्हें अपनी आर्किटेक्चर शीट बनाने के लिए 7 घंटे लगते हैं. So in that particular case, those 7 hours that you have put in the to work on your sheet is your labor. So you that is 7 hours of labor. So that is called labor. Okay, the amount of work that you've put in is called labor. It's not कि वो जो डेली वेज वर्कर होते हैं उनको लेबर नहीं बोलते, ठीक है. Now the third thing is for whom to produce, है ना यार. पहले तो देख लिए व्हाट टू प्रोड्यूस, क्या प्रोड्यूस करना है, ठीक है, पता चल गया कि कितने कौन सी कमोडिटी प्रोड्यूस करनी है, कितना करना है. एंड देन ये भी देख लिया हमने कि कैसे प्रोड्यूस करना है, या तो पैसे लगाने हैं या लेबर इंटेंसिव टेक्निक. अच्छा, एंड ऑल्सो सिंस वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इकोनॉमीज, so in capital intensive technique it is not just limited to a small set of entity, like whatever I said, producing 100 pen by a company, it's generally done by a company, right? The legalization of company varies, like limited liability partnership, private limited, or sole proprietorship. But anyways, it's an entity, right? But it is also done by an economy, okay, like द इंडियन इकोनॉमी. अब वो जो काम करती हैं, लाइक द इंडियन इकोनॉमी जो काम करती है वो बेसिकली हर एक इकोनॉमी इन दोनों में से कोई एक टेक्निक यूज़ करती है, या तो लेबर इंटेंसिव या कैपिटल इंटेंसिव. लाइक जनरली जो डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज रहते हैं, लाइक द यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स, इट्स अ फेमस एग्जाम्पल. सो यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स इट्स ए कैपिटल इंटेंसिव टेक्निक बिकॉज उनके पास पैसे बहुत ज़्यादा होते हैं. एंड जो लेबर इंटेंसिव टेक्निक है वो इम्प्लीमेंट कौन करता है, इंडिया करती है, इवन चाइना भी करता है. बिकॉज यहाँ पे क्या है, स्किल्ड लेबर की जो कॉस्ट है वो बहुत कम है. इसीलिए तुम लोगों ने देखा होगा कि काफ़ी सारे कंपनीज जो यूएस बेस्ड कंपनीज रहते हैं वो क्या करते हैं, इंडिया से अपनी कोई एक प्रोडक्ट आउटसोर्स करवा लेते हैं. सो लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल एप्पल, दे outsource a lot of things from China. Why? Because it's much more expensive to produce the same amount of goods or services within the United States, okay, as compared to China, because China is cheaper. Like US dollar in Indian rupees, if you see it, it's something like 85 rupees, 1 US dollar, whereas Chinese yuan, it's something around, I'm not sure, like 30 to 40 rupees, I guess. So you see it's like 50% cheaper. Okay, so talking about, like, coming to the third thing, which is for whom to produce. पहली चीज़ हमने देख लिया what to produce, ये पता चल गया क्या प्रोड्यूस करना है, किसके लिए करना है, whether to use labor intensive technique or to implement capital intensive technique, वो भी देख लिया हमने. The third thing is for whom to produce. अब ऑब्वियसली क्वेश्चन है, 100 पेन्स जो मैं बना रहा हूँ, तुम पूछोगे ना किसके लिए बना रहा हूँ मैं, ऐसे ही मतलब गधा तो नहीं हो यार कि किसी के लिए भी बना दो, कोई भी मजदूरी कर लूँ, मजाक कर रहा था मतलब. सो द थर्ड थिंग इज़ फॉर whom to produce. Now based on the paying capacity, it is divided into two categories. First is the rich class and the poor class. Okay, जितना जिनकी खर्चने की क्षमता है उस बेसिस पे इस क्लासेस को डिवाइड किए हैं हम लोग. ओके, बिकॉज ऑफ कोर्स इफ़ यू प्रोड्यूस समथिंग विच इज़ वेरी एक्सपेंसिव, पुअर पीपल विल नॉट बाई इट, राइट? लाइक गुची के जो बैग्स आते हैं, गुची के जो ड्रेसेस आते हैं, poor people won't buy it. Okay, so you need to be specific who your customers are. So in because of that, we have divided people into two categories, that is the rich class and the poor class. That is based on their paying capacity. Okay, now what is paying capacity? Paying capacity, it refers to the amount of money that you can spend comfortably without compromising your future needs. Okay, so that is paying capacity. And then, so basically, so that's the entire scenario of why economics is needed, and basically what is economics. So now, talking about the classification of economics. Okay, so economics is classified into two types. First is microeconomics and the second is macroeconomics. ऑफ कोर्स नाम से समझ आ जा रहा है कि माइक्रो मतलब छोटा एंड मैक्रो मतलब बड़ा, बट इट्स फार बियॉन्ड दैट. ओके, इतना खुश मत हो जाओ. So the first thing in microeconomics, what we do is we study people's choices. Okay, we study people's choices and how their individual choices of people, it impacts the supply and demand in an economy. Okay, and whereas in macroeconomics we study about nations like Indian economy or the US economy. Okay, and there are certain things that we particularly discuss about in macroeconomics, which are the output, how much that particular economy, how much output that particular economy is going to produce. The second thing is unemployment within that economy. कि let's say for example इंडिया में हर साल आउटपुट कितनी होगी, एंड द सेकेंड थिंग इज़ अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट रेट कितनी है, बिकॉज जितना ज़्यादा अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट बढ़ेगा उतना ज़्यादा सोशल इंस्टेबिलिटी बढ़ेगी, राइट, विद इन द इकोनॉमी. एंड इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में भी नाम खराब हो गया यार कि भर भर के लोग आ जा रहे हैं यूएस में काम करने के लिए, इंडिया में काम नहीं है ऐसा, यू नो. And the third thing is we'll talk about interest rates in macroeconomics. Interest rate, and now you may ask, interest rates on what? So basically these are interest rates on the Federal Reserve System. The term Federal Reserve System, it is used for the government or the central bank. Okay, in case of India it is RBI. And the fourth thing that we particularly focus on in macroeconomics, it is the government spending. How much is the government spending on different things? Okay, which is basically your budget. Like you must have heard कि इस साल गवर्नमेंट ने 5,000 crores allot किए हैं for education, let's say 7,000 crores allot किए हैं for healthcare, and these are all hypothetical numbers. Okay, so and the last thing is growth. In macroeconomics we also talk about growth. How much is the GDP growing every year? Like for instance, now in the year 2000, कौन सा साल है, 24, yeah, in 2024 the economy is going to rise, like it's a prediction of course, but the economy, the GDP is going to rise at a growth rate of 7.3%, which was, you know, predicted by the I think World Bank, World Bank and International Monetary Fund ने भी ये कहा था. So yeah, that's it. Yeah. So this is the introduction of economics. So I hope कि तुम्हें ये चीज़ समझ आई हो, and अगर नहीं आई हो तो you can always ask doubts. Thank you very much.